So next time you have to do something nice for your girlfriend, just remember that Jeff Bezos said his to space for like 4 minutes. I don't know if he was hoping that it was a one-way trip or something happened, or if he truly wanted to just give his girlfriend an out-of-this-world experience. But in any event, what does this have to do with crypto? What does this have to do with crypto? Well, I'll tell you. It has very little to do with crypto. Right now, we're kind of in a holding pattern until the powers that be can figure out the tariffs. I will tell you, though, one very exciting thing that's going on right now is what's going on with Bitcoin, and I'm going to show you that in a second. But remember, every single day is an adventure, and please join me along for this adventure. Hit the subscribe button, and if you like what you see, please don't be afraid to hit that like button. And with that, we're just going to get into a little chat about our buddy Bitcoin. So Bitcoin right now was in a downward descending channel, and it was just bouncing off these parameters pretty much constantly. And then we got through a point where it broke through a ceiling resistance. It broke through a second one. Now the last thing really stopping it from a true breakout, other than basic macroeconomic picture, is this, here we go, is this $86,000 mark. And Bitcoin is really struggling 4 days in a row trying to bounce up against that level. And I said this the other day, that it's going to take a significant, compelling event for it to bust through that realm. It needs some a real catalyst. And right now, the biggest catalyst holding everyone back and with a lot of, uncertainty is the tariffs. I hate talking about tariff, what's going on with the tariffs. But the reality is that's the single solitary thing I believe that's holding our market back. And think about it this way. If you have a company or you make money, which I hope you do, you're thinking, what do I do with my money right now? Where do I put it? Where's the safe haven? Are we going to continue struggling through tariffs? If we last too long in these tariffs, it could drag a lot of companies down, and that's going to really weigh on your account. But should I put it into bonds? Again, don't know which way the bonds are going. I'm holding it in cash is what a lot of people are saying right now. And for them to dump that back in the market, they need some confidence. They need some security. They need some understanding that their money isn't just going to evaporate or go the other direction the next day. And until we pick a direction, whether it's up or down, it doesn't matter. That's when people will feel confident to come back in the market. And that's just not happening right now. But what is happening is that we have, we talk about M2 money supply. M2 money supply, the amount of money that's readily available to invest, basically liquid, it's liquidity around the world. And I've read a lot of articles on this, and you look at the change in money supply. We actually had a negative change in money supply for the last, 4 years. And we've got positive since beginning of last year. It started to go positive increase of money supply. And the more money that's out there is the more potential or chance that you're going to use that to invest in things like stocks, bonds, crypto, real estate, art, whatever it may be that you want to invest in to hedge against inflation. And there's always inflation regardless of what the Fed's target is of 2%. And they want to hedge. People with money are going to hedge against inflation. Bitcoin has been performing very well over the last couple of years. Now, people say Trump killed Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is still up 20% from where he was elected. Remember, he was elected right here on November 5th. And since then, we still are 29% up. Yeah, not 10,000% like a lot of people want. But really, let's talk about that. If you have Bitcoin as an asset that's an over $1 trillion asset, it's not going to move as fast as it did when the market cap of Bitcoin was $1 million. I mean, the potential to move from $1.5 trillion to $2 trillion or to $3 trillion or to $4 trillion, gets exponentially more difficult than moving from $1 million to $2 million, because you're talking about a lot bigger money. And the total value of Bitcoin right now is about $1.7 trillion. And you look at this market cap, the next closest one is almost 10x below Bitcoin, which is Ethereum. And Ethereum, almost $200 billion. It's risen to 450-ish billion in the past. And we're a far cry from that. We're more than half off where it was, $1,600 valuation. that has gone down in the last year. So Bitcoin is performing and holding its value very well during these times. I would love to see a decoupling from stocks and all these things, but right now I'll take Bitcoin being that, I don't want to call it a hedge against inflation, but I mean, if you're appreciating on average 40% a year, which past performance is not indicative of future results, not your financial advisor, all those things that we have to say, if Bitcoin is decoupled from stocks, and even if it isn't, the consistent rise of Bitcoin over time is very strong. Now, you might say, well, I bought Bitcoin, on January 25th, it was $109,000, and now it's only $85,000. I'm losing money. That is a very short period of time. The time is the cure all for a lot of things in investing. If you invest properly versus buying, crap coins that are going to go to zero eventually, even though the fart coin just continues to perform as much as I think it's ridiculous. Fart coin's up 57% in the last week. It's a bad week to be an ohm buyer, a mantra buyer, as far as an investor from the past. But, look at these coins. I mean, the last week has been good to crypto. Where are we going now? What is next? We're really in a holding pattern until there's news or narratives out there to clear up the direction of the country. I think everybody knows that. How long is this going to last? Well, I will tell you, this pressure cooker that's happening with China, it's not in anyone's best interest for that to go on too long, but a healthy negotiation and coming to the table and saying, this is what, we can do, what we can't do. Instead, you have two parties that are, fearful to show weakness and giving in. And in the meantime, there's a lot of uncertainty out there, and the uncertainty and doubt leads to fear. And then you just get a full FUD. And that is where we are right now. Even though the markets are really kind of starting to shake this off and say, look, we just want to move forward. They're kind of picking a direction. You can gamble and say, I think it's going to go this way. In the long run, I think this will clear up. I think the deals will be made and prosperity will continue. But until then, we are in a holding pattern. Nothing new. Now, I've told you about the ways I make money in holding pattern, which is either through my EasyBot, which is a software service that buys and sells, little buys, little sells, and makes a little bit of money, not thousands of percent return, but, I look for a 0.5 to 1% return weekly. And I'm very happy if I get that. And somewhere around there, sometimes I get 10, 11%, and when it starts to really go up. But in sideways, I'll take a 0.5% versus no change at all. I made a video about that the other day. I put it right there, somewhere around here. So check that out. With that, I will see you next time.